Russia has called for a 72-hour ceasefire in parts of Syria. It announced the temporary truce in the towns of Daraya and Eastern Ghouta on the outskirts of Damascus. On Sunday, rebel groups threatened to walk out of truce negotiations unless the Syrian army ended its offensive in the suburbs of Damascus. Now, it comes a day after ISIL targeted government strongholds. In a series of blasts, at least 150 people were killed in the attacks in the city of JABLEH and TARTUS. Stefaine, Dekker's more from Gaziantep, near the border with Syria. Stefaine, this truce, how's it going to work?
Well, at the moment, it seems to be holding. It's quiet around Daraya and Eastern Ghouta. These are areas around Damascus. As you said, opposition groups, really the bulk of the so-called moderate opposition groups who are part of the political process negotiations through the HNC at Geneva said, listen, this is not working for us. Clearly, it's just a ploy to allow the regime, the Assad government and its allies to continue shelling us because Daraya, this suburb of Damascus, has come under increasing shelling, surface-to-surface missiles over the last few weeks. So they said, well, if you don't do anything to make them stop it, we're going to stop the political process. So we've now had this statement by Russia. It's only 3 days. We also had a statement from the Americans yesterday saying to the opposition groups, we understand you, but also a bit of a warning, I think, saying, well, you know, if you do adhere to this cessation of hostilities, as it's called, this was agreed upon last February. I mean, it's still very, very shaky. I don't think we can really say there's a ceasefire in Syria. But if you pull out of it, that means that the Syrian government and its ally Russia can bomb you and there's nothing that we can say. So now, I mean, it seems that the Americans have had a word with the Russians. Russia saying, well, now it's 3 days. I think key to this, 3 days, will it go beyond that is something that needs to be asked, because that is what the opposition has asked for, both militarily on the ground and in terms of politics. There needs to be a nationwide cessation of hostilities across the board for any political talks to be able to have trust between all sides and move forward.
And Stefaine, how badly do these areas need this ceasefire?
Well, very badly, especially when we talk about Daraya, and this is also something that was spoken about in that opposition statement. They said, well, you know what, you promised us aid and you couldn't even get baby milk in. This has to do with the fact that a UN convoy, together with the ICRC, the International Committee for the Red Cross, had organized a couple of trucks with aid, not food. This was not part of the agreement. The Syrian government did not allow food to go into Daraya. They actually got to the entrance of the area. They were stopped at the last government checkpoint, and after having negotiated with all sides, having said, yes, this is going to go in, it wasn't allowed. Now, Daraya has been besieged by government forces for most of 4 years. They need food, they need medicine, they need aid. So this was one of the issues that the opposition had. They said, listen, you couldn't even deliver the most basic things. So how can we trust any side that you actually have the power to implement anything that you say you can? Because this is part of the bigger picture, Jane. It's complicated when it comes to the political process. It's cessation of hostilities, it's humanitarian aid to these besieged places, and it's the release of political prisoners. All of those incredibly difficult to implement.
Thank you for that, Stefaine Dekker.